Alrighty, so let's start this webinar. Today's lesson will be on employee management, and basically the things that we'll be going over today is settings, employee profiles, time off, sending emails, and reporting. And the first thing that I will say is that if you do have any questions, I highly recommend just writing them down, and at the end of the webinar, we can go and discuss them. With that said, I will take you through settings. Through the company tab, we can go underneath settings, and from here, you're given a plethora of many different sections within business that you can go and look up. Simply by using the search settings tab, we can go in and search for certain things such as, for example, shifts. From here, it's important to get this set up primarily because you want to make sure that you do have your defaults set to the correct time frames. You can go and edit or just take out and add as many as you need from create new shift. As you can see from the system, it's set up with an 8 to 5 p.m. default. And then from here, you can go and set that up per employee. You can also change it on the employee level as well. From here, you can also look up time off. Let's just hit back for a second. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right, so as you can see underneath employees, we have time off, we have the settings, we have time off availability, as well as time off categories. Going through the settings, you can see here, you get to choose 1 day work time through hours. So an 8-hour workday, minimum time off to request in minutes, 15 minutes. So you can go and set those to your company's level. And also you can check off, is reason required while submitting time off requests. So basically if that fits it, you can go and check this off. And then anyone who will go into the system to go and request time off will have to give you a reason. You can then go and save. And then from here under time off availability, you can go and put in your increments, as in, for example, we have year 1, PTO 10 days. And then I've added sick days, which I'll show you in a second where you can go and add these. But you can also have vacation, you can have volunteer time, and so forth. So as you can see over here, we have PTO 10 days, no sick days yet. But you can go in and you can edit this. You can go and put in your sick days and then update. Right now, I do need to put something in here so the system will let you know that sick days availability is required. And as you can see from here, let's say we're going to start with 2 days and then update. And then from here, if you needed to go and delete, you can go do so from here, and then a check mark will appear instead. All right, and then of course you can go in and add new availability for year 2 and say that there's an increment of 1 day. So you would have, for example, year 2, an extra day, so you would say 11 days, and then another day for sick days, 3 days. Insert this, and there you go. You have your availability now for year 1 and year 2, and you can do that for as many as you need. Time off categories, such as PTO or sick days, you can have as many as you need. So you can have vacation and you can have volunteer as well. You can have it go and let you know if there's an expiration type or an accrual type. And just to show you what those categories do look like, we can go in here, put in a name, say whether or not flex time is allowed. Is this with pay? Are we allowing time off even if it's not available? And then accrual, is this by per month, an annually fixed date, anniversary date of employee, and so forth. And then expiration, the same fields. And as you can see from the right side, these are important to set up, especially if you are going to allow your employees to go and put any time off. You would need to select a recipient that will get these notifications, such as for submission, and one for approved, one for denied, and one for canceled as well. And then you can save and close or save. And then from here, the next thing that I would recommend is you can look under settings for job titles. Now we do have it underneath employees tab and we do have it underneath the recruiting. It is the same field, so if we do click on job titles through employees, as you can see, you can put in as many different job titles as is necessary. So for example, we have here accounting, recruiter, administration, and so forth. Underneath each section, you can have a desired staffing level. This is just letting you know how many people can fill in a certain job title. It keeps count, so if you do go over, for example, staffing level of 2, it'll just, let you know this. And we can go in and just show you one, for example, underneath accounting, you can put in a job description. You do have a rich editor box so that you can go and put in any kind of HTML, any tables if needed. And of course, you can say whether or not this position or job title rather, can have these time off categories. So you would have to check off, for example, this one can go and request PTO, and this one can go and request off sick days. Also, good to note is Hub. Hub, you will see around the whole system. We have it for orders, we have it for employees, we have it for projects, we also have it for job titles. So you can go in here, create as many content groups as is needed, and then go and title these, edit them, go and post any documents, links, and posts. So then from here, another section that you would want to check is with divisions. And we can go underneath employee divisions, same box for all. And as you can see right now, we do have a couple set in the system. You would go in and, for example, underneath the add button, choose the division name, if necessary, the division leader, and then from there, the manager email that it would go to. So as you can see, you have all the people within the system that you can choose. For example, I can choose Brian Kenny, and I can put my division name as Human Resources. And then email. And then we can save and close. And there you go, we have Human Resources. We already had one, but you know, it's good to have one that has a division leader in it. And then it's easily accessible to go and deactivate. These don't necessarily delete permanently from the system, so anything that does have the option to deactivate will still be there. You can just go through your search filters. As you can see, it's by default set to active, but if you needed to go and see any inactive, you can go down the drop down and choose inactive, and also search by name. And a good thing to note here is that you can go throughout the whole business and see that we have these magnifying glass with the gear icon, and this means that you can go and save a search. So you'll see these around the whole system. You can manage your saved searches from here as well. Next on these settings is Teams. Now it's good to have Teams set up, especially if you are going to be using other things in the system, such as tasks, for example. You can go and request to have a team be assigned to one. But just to show you what that would look like, we would have our team types. So for example, we have in the system marketing team and project team. Going into one of these, for example, will let you know if you want to define the team structure, which is pretty neat. Kind of gives you a nice way to go and say, you know, the job titles, for example, CEO, the number of people, let's say just one CEO would do. We can go in and also do accounting, let's say 3 people from accounting. And so forth. So you can change the order of these as well. And of course, from here, you do have your means to go and create your hierarchy within the team structure for your team types. You could view any associated teams if they are available, and after that, you can just save and close. Okay, and then from here, we also would want to check any skill sets. You can have it set that your employees can put in their own skill sets if that is something that you wanted to have them do. But otherwise, you can go via settings and put in your skill sets. So for example, bilingual, MS Office, and adding a new skill set is as simple as going in and from the pop-up window, which is loading currently, you can go and put in your name. So we can say QuickBooks. And then from here, you can just have as many as you need. You can go and do a default sort order for them. And then once you go into your employee profiles, you will be able to go and actually see whether or not they can have these skill sets added to them. Okay, so basically from here, also expertise levels, you can go and say novice, skilled, master, and so forth, just to kind of go and put that in. So for example, underneath novice, it's just as simple as putting in the level name, saving that, and then you're good to go. And you can also change the order of these as well. So from settings, now that we've kind of gone through those different areas that you would want to set up before you kind of go and set up any employee information and whatnot, the next thing that you can do is underneath the employees tab. As you can see, there's so much to even start with, but from the very beginning under employees, we can go to the list of each employee that is in the system. So as you can see right from the start, you have your filters up here that you can go and search for specific employees, either by team, division, job title, status as of active or inactive, and then the dates. And then if we go down here, we have drop-down arrows that expand, that we can go and see even manager, the user role for the person, location, skills, and so forth. So from here, first thing to note is if we go into one person's profile, for example, Alice Benjamin, there's a lot of information that we see right from her dashboard. And the one thing that I do want to point out first and foremost is user access. Now, in order for them to go and become a user of business, first they would have this box unchecked, not a system user. It's highly crucial to have it checked on or off. If they are to use a system, leave it as so. If not, you are not paying for them to be using the system. And then, of course, the user access disappears. So having that checked off gives them the user access.
No, it's actually a training.
So from here, what we can do is go and view the user access. As you can see, they do have a login email that they will have to go and log into the system with. They can have multiple emails set up, but the one with the green dot will let you know that this is the one that they need to log in with. From here, of course, we have user roles. Now, we do have plenty within the system to start. You can go and create your own. You can go and just have up to 3, whatever would work for your business. So you can also view within the user role what that effective access is. So as we can see from over here, if we go down and underneath accounting, we can see that right now user role only has access to financial transactions to view and so forth. So you can kind of get an idea right from here. But even better is under employees, we do have a section for users and security. So going underneath user roles, we can kind of see all the roles within the system. We can see how many users are currently in those roles. And then if so, we can make one our default, and then we can just take away if we needed to. But again, it's deactivating, so you can go underneath your status and check to see which ones are inactive and which ones are active, or you can just go to view all. So for example, if we go underneath the full access role, you can see right over here under add employee to this role, which employees currently have full access. It's not going to show you the drop down of all of the choices because full access is just going to have everything marked off. So if we do go back and we go into, for example, user, you can see all the employees that currently have this role. We can see any description that's put in. And from here, we also have a search function so that we can go and look for certain things. So for example, we can type in orders, hit the magnifying glass, and from here we can see if they do have permissions for any of the orders within the system. So for example, something good to note is that if you do see anything that is marked gray in a box, it means that there is something within that section that is marked for their permissions, but not everything. Otherwise, if we did go and click on it a second time, it turns blue, and now they have access to everything within purchase orders, for example. But if that wasn't the case and you just wanted to mark for purchase orders, you can go and just do a checkbox for purchase orders. And then from here, of course, you can go and manage that user role. And then any changes that take effect here, once saved, will affect every employee within this list. So it's a very neat feature to have that you can go and change it as need be. If anyone needed access, for example, approved orders to edit payment terms or whatnot, you can go and change them here. So then once we go save and close, and as you can see, you have them all ordered here. You can go and start to assign them to employees. So underneath Alice's profile, there's a couple things that we can go over. So as you can see from the top bar here, we have home, collaboration, hourly rate and cost, salary log, skill sets, order approval settings, time off, shifts, and page visit trail. That's a lot of information. We can go into collaboration just to start off. All right, so from collaboration, as you can tell, this will look similar to the hub that we did see within the job title roles. So of course, it's just adding in your content groups. You can go and put a folder that's for their, employee handbook. You can put on this level, or you can do that on the company hub level, but you can put documents that would pertain to your employee within this section. And even with that, you can decide which documents are still visible to that employee. So you can still store documents, for example, that are visible by clicking the check for visible to employee, as well as restrict access to any people as well. Or you can just simply have it be restrict access to that specific employee and have it be that way. If you don't mind just muting on your end, just so that we don't have any noise from the other visitors, could just mark your computer mute for a second. And then from here, we can also put in tags. So anything that you wanted to show up within the navigator, for example, which is this box up here, we can go and actually have a tag that would be anything having to do with applications or webinars. This way, the system can pick up on certain fields and then, give you that content via a list. And then, of course, to add any information, we can click to upload or drag and drop documents within here. And then just hovering over lets you know what kind of files we do allow within the system. Okay. So then underneath here, we can also see that we have surveys, quizzes, assessments, and forms that are connected to that employee. So when you do have a form that you send out internally or public, when they do use their email address, it will store it underneath their employee information so that you can always go and reference back to it if anything. The next section is hourly rate and cost. And as you can see from over here, you can choose right from the beginning whether this is not billable by default. You have two sections here, the first one being default hourly rate and cost. So you can add a rate and cost from here with an effective date, the hourly rate, and then the hourly cost. The same can be set for the at rate and cost by item, which is very handy, especially if you have a different, items being like service items such as labor or maintenance labor, for example. And then the same fields, effective date, hourly rate, and hourly cost. And then from here, salary log. So anything pertaining to your employee's salary can be still saved within their employee information. So within this area, you can basically go and see any type of salary history that would pertain from their first year. And then, of course, if any raises are given, you can go and mark those changes and have them show up within the salary log for your employee. All right. And just wait for that to load up for 1 second. Let me try to get it on a different page for. So we just recently moved to a new building here, so I'm trying to give it some time to warm up. Let's get this going. All right, let's see. All right, well, while that's loading, I'll just go and explain the other set that we have here. So, of course, once you have all your salary information logged in for that employee, you'll have a running log of that within their employee information. As you can see right here, the next one being skill sets. The skill sets that you have placed within your settings, you can go in and just either put it in manually by yourself. If you know that this person has an MS Office certificate, you can put that in as a skill set. They can go in based off permissions and put in their own skill sets if necessary. The next one being order approval settings, we can also have set here to see how much this employee can approve up to. So whether they can approve orders up to $500 or $1,000 or so forth, you can set that on the employee level as well. Of course, time off will track any time off that this employee has had. So anything that they've logged in will show the days, any reasons, and the approval as well for that. Of course, shifts. Now, with shifts, we can have it show for different days. If you have certain employees that only have, thank you. If we only have employees that work certain hours within a Tuesday, for example, we can go and add a shift exception, or we can have a new shift assignment right from the employees page. So from here, we can see that right now, Alice Benjamin has the default, which is 8 to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. We do have Saturday and Sunday fields so that if you did have, of course, weekend hours, you can go and set that up here as well. And we can see as of date. So with here, if we did have other hours that we had for this employee, we can search by through here. I do want to check to see if time off has been showing. Okay, so another page that we do have is the page visit trail. From here, of course, a neat portion of business is that we can track to see all the different pages that have been visited by this employee. So if you wanted to make sure that they're going into a certain task or they're going into a certain project, you would be able to go and track that via the page visit trail, which is a neat feature. Of course, we do have it also underneath reports where we can go and see page visits for, in general, the whole company. But per employee, you can visit it via their page visit trail. Okay. So the next thing I do want to go over is if we can go back to the home screen for Alice, you might have noticed there's a lot of information that we're giving out here. Right from the bat, we have actions. You can associate this employee with a candidate if they did start out being a candidate. You can go and look at time off accrual settings. You can create a task for this employee straight from their employee dashboard. You can see if they're linked to anything within the system. So if they were, it would show a record here. Also, audit log. The audit log will capture any changes that have been created for this employee. So for example, we could go in and we see that right now it's also tracking down the date and time and the person who made a change. As we can see, her job title was changed to recruiter effective on a certain date and so forth. And we can also see the last modified. So it's a great way to kind of keep things on track and make sure that if any changes have been made, you're able to go back and actually see those. Also, we have links for Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. The full name, employee number is system generated if left blank. You can go and put in social security numbers, which are encrypted. And when you do have these fields, you do have permission set to only have certain people see encrypted fields. Not everyone will be able to see it. Of course, like I mentioned before, not a system user. If you have it checked, then that means that they can't access business at all. But if you do have it checked, you have their user role and their email, and they're able to log in. Bio, notes, and signature, they can go in and change any bio that they may have in here. Any notes or their signature, they can go in and edit their signature as well. And then down below over here, contact info, phone numbers. You can also have your mobile, your work, your fax, emails, addresses. If you have your settings in the system set to geocode, you can put it in address, maybe not the whole thing, but then the system could go and kind of search for that via Google, and then you can click that. And then from here, employment info, we have start date. If we go and click onto history, we can see any end dates or notes that have been put in. Also to see whether or not the work anniversary calculated on this date is turned on by yes or no. We can see who the manager is for this individual, the location, the job title, any updates to that job title as well, divisions, and job type. By job type, you can kind of go in and also create these as well. So as you can see, we have part-time, temporary, contract, and so forth. And then we can mark off whether or not this employee is non-exempt. From the medical dental benefits, this is a custom field, so we can kind of go in and choose our options that we would be creating on our end in the settings. So for example, we have medical with deductible, single, and so forth. Same can go for the dental plan. These lists you can make. And then, of course, additional benefits, which is another custom field. So we have the 401k enrollment, life insurance, and so forth. Also to mind, when you do create new employees in the system, we do have it when they are first created and you do set up their email and you give them a user role. This welcome email button will disappear once they do go into their email and log in for the first time. So if your employees cannot log in and it is the first time they are using it, you may want to check their employee profile and see if this button is still here. And if so, you can just resend that welcome email and the system will let you know that it's been sent. Okay, and then down here, of course, you can just go and deactivate the employee. If that is necessary, you can go in and see that the termination date field pops up. You can put today's date or you can put a past date, and then you can write the notes. And then this information will be stored within the history of the start date. Okay, so with all that information that is set, time off, we can kind of go into detail with. So through the navigator, it's a very neat little search box here. You can make any kind of spelling errors if you don't know how to spell certain things, and it's pretty intelligent to kind of pick up on what you're looking for. So as you can see from over here, we've gotten a couple different options. We have time off availability, time off approval queue, time off categories, time off settings, my time off, and the time off calendar. My time off is, if we go through this little button right over here, if I click down on my name, I can actually go and see my time off. Now, I don't have any in the system, but for example, if I did click on that, I would be able to have a list view that would give me the category of this time off, the time off period, so the total time off, the reason, if any, and the status. And if there was any flex time period, we can show that over here as well. Also, of course, up here, as you can see right now, I'm only set for PTO. So I would see what my available days are and hours, and then see my accrual rate as well. So if we go back to the navigator and I'll type in time off, let me just take out the hyphen a bit. So the first thing that we can do is within here, we did kind of go over the categories, of course. Once you do have those set up within the system, you can go and make sure that once these settings are in, we would want to request time off. So I can show you what that would look like, for example. So if I go underneath my time off and I add, so first it populates with my name. Depending on my access, I can go and give time off to anyone else as well. I can choose my category. And from here, I'll just leave it on PTO. And then my dates. So let's say today at 3, and I will be gone for the rest of the day. So I want to request off 2 hours of PTO. Now, did you see what happened beforehand? There was a sign that came up on the top portion of here. If I go back and I put the time to 8 a.m., the system is letting me know, it's a warning. Time off requested is more than the available time off for this category. Do you still want to submit your time off request? So of course, it lets you know if you have a certain amount of hours, if you're going over that. You can still request it, and of course, if you have an approval queue for someone else to approve it, they can of course deny that. Or if you don't have permission at all to go over your time, it won't let you. So if I go and I just put in 3, because I know that I have enough hours for 2 hours to take off. Gonna go put my reason. Just say doctor's visit. Save and close that. And now I'm set to automatically get my time off approved, which is awesome. But that may not be what your company wants to do. So you may have the settings set to where it goes to a queue that someone else internally approves that for your employees. But as you can see, you do get a notification on top in green letting you know that this was approved or that it was sent to the queue. So the next one we have here is adjusting time off. So we can go and view any adjustments in a log, or we can add any adjustment. So if I wanted to go and say that I need to make an adjustment for PTO, I can have that as my category. I want to adjust 2 hours for today and say, doctor visit is canceled. And of course, it's approved because it's set to those settings. So then, of course, I would have that there, and it's listed right over here. So right now, it's telling me amount of hours, 2 hours, doctor visit is canceled as my reason, and it's approved by myself. And then, of course, it's time stamped as well. And then from here, we also have the time off calendar. So we'll go and view that from the navigator. And as you can see right now, since I only did that one date, it'll show up for that exact Monday with the from and to and so forth. And then from here, if I wanted to, I can go and click into it and it'll let me know who it was approved by, the employee information and the date for the time off and the time off too. So from here, we can also see underneath employees, we do have a function to send email. Now, the send email function underneath the employees tab is basically going to give you a means to create filters. So if we click here to select employees, what we receive are 2 options. We can search for our filters, or we can use saved searches if you do have any saved searches available in here. You can also see whether or not to include inactive saved searches as well. So from the search, from here, we can go and see that we do have certain fields available to us that are employee-based. So we can see by job title, by division, by the manager name, any notes, the status as of a certain date. So for example, if I chose this, I can put it for active employees of a certain date. But for right now, I think I may want to stick to job title. And as we can see from over here, we are given a drop-down list of all the different job titles that we currently have within the system. So if I wanted to see ones for administration, and let's say if I have sales rep, accounting, let's just see what comes up. So the system found 3 employees. So from here, I know that these are the job titles that I want to send this email to. I have 3 employees. I'm going to hit next. And then from here, it lets me know right off the bat the date, the 3 recipients. I can view my recipients from here. So as I can see, I have Brenda, John, and Nancy with their emails provided as well. I can take out from this list if need be as well. So from here, I do have the option to change my name. Since I am a person with full access, I can go in, edit this, and I can choose to send it over to, let's see. I'm gonna put in Trinity. And then I can also change the email address. And then from there, I can also say whether or not this email will have an attached survey, quiz, assessment, or form. And for example, just what this will look like is when we do have this box checked off, we can select what that form is. And if it is a form, we can just click on this. And then from here, we have these options that will populate. So for example, I'm going to send everyone here an I-9 form. And from here, I am able to go and then choose my subject line. And as you can see from the body of this email, we do provide merge fields. Now these merge fields do come in handy. As you can see, you can set it up for your audience, the first name. Any kind of links that you would have to have a form link in it. And as you can see from here, that merge field is already provided. And then we can also just use middle name, use prefixes, or use signatures. It makes it more personal. It gives it a more personal touch for your audience so that when they do receive this email, it's as if they are receiving it personally from you. So from here, of course, once we like what we see, we've added all that we needed to add, we can go in and send this email, or you can do and send a test email from here. And then it's as simple as that. So for example, let's just do this and see what happens. There we go, perfect. So it lets you know that your emails are queued to be delivered, and you can click here to view the progress. And from here, it'll just let you know some system notifications. You may notice a delay in processing because emails are sent in the order in which they are received. So you can click to refresh from your totals. And so forth. So you can see the ones that are sent by myself. I can see ones that are sent by other employees in the system. I can see the date that it is sent from. Let me just go back from here. There we go, that is me. I can see the number that have been processed and the total emails, and then any percentage of this completion. Okay. So we basically went over from the send email function, you can go in, send these over, put any attachments in. You do have your merge fields available to you. And then from here, the next thing that I just do want to point out is reports. So as you can see, we have many reports here that are within the system, hard-coded, as you can see. But what we do want to kind of focus on is how you can build your own custom reports. So from Report Builder at the very bottom, when we click on this, and this is just a nice little system update that we have here, so I'm going to click on that. So as you can see, I do have one of my reports already in the system. It lets me know that I own this one. The data set is candidate applications. I do have my search filters here that I can go and view for any reports that I have built, or I can just simply add. So from here, let's say we wanted to go and find out employee info. I'm just going to name it that. And then our data sets. So we have a lot of data sets. The one that would, of course, apply to your employees is specifically that of employee salaries or employees. So let's just take a look at employees first. So from here, once we choose our data set, you do have an option of whether or not you want to add this to the menu, and you can choose the location. So within here, you can choose it underneath My Reports. You can put it underneath, one of these sections, or whatever would make sense for your company. So let's hit next. And then from here, we do have even more information. So underneath the basic info, which we just filled out, we can choose whether or not to share this with anyone, make a copy of this report, or edit the information. Do keep in mind that when you do choose to edit information, you cannot edit the data set. So once you have chosen your data set, that's set. So you can change things such as your report name and your menu location. So from here, the available columns that we do have available for you to use is employee ID, employee number, first name, last name. So let's say we want to use full name. We want to be able to go and track hire date. Okay, you can do system user, termination date, job title. Let's do job title. Manager, sure. And we have a whole bunch of others. So you can see like primary phone number, we have, the created by, the date modified, and then we have our custom fields, which were the health plan information, such as 401k, dental plan, and so forth. And then from here, we have search filters. So under add filters, basically what we do is we can go in and say that we need to hone in on certain features. So for example, we need to hone in on let's say division. And from division, we can say that I want to go in and just look at accounting, sales and marketing, and executive management. And then of course, if we wanted to add more, we can just add filter. And then of course we have another filter. So we can do by, let's say, the status. And of course you have just active and inactive. So of course, if we wanted to do just active employees, we would choose that. And you can have as many as you need. You can change these filters to be and or. I want to have all this information, so I'm going to leave it on and. You can have groups if you wanted to. But for right now, I can go and just do these two for right now and submit this. And then of course it changes from add filter to configure filter, so that if I needed to go back in, I can configure my filters via this button. Default sort order is saying if I wanted to sort it by the manager, for example, or the job title. Let's just say I want to do it by manager. I can group my configuration, so I can choose whether or not to hide the details. Hiding the details is just basically letting you know if you group your configuration with the goal of developing a total summary on your report, this eliminates the users from going page to page to calculate data. So if I needed to calculate my data, I would have this completely on one page. So we can go and mess with this if we wanted to, or we could just go and aggregate our configurations if we did have any kind of column that would make sense for aggregating. So for right now, I think I'm pretty good. I wanted to sort it by manager. I have my configuration set. I have my columns here, and let's just say that I want to change the manager to the second column. I can do that, so I can rearrange that. Display column as, now this is what I want the report to name. I can just say, for example, name. I can leave it as manager, hire date, job title, or I can just put title, for example. So if that's the columns that I wanted to have labeled this way, I will leave it as so, and then from here I would run my report. So depending on the file size, it may take a couple more seconds, but this one was pretty quick. So as you can see from over here, I have my names listed here, the managers, the hire date, and the titles. So from here, I have more options to refine my results. If I wanted to go and just look for certain information, such as my own name, I can do that, and it will just bring up all those results with this. I can do it for manager. I can do it for the hire dates of a specific date range, as well as the title. And then from here, I can go and configure my filters again, or I can go and configure this report. I can go and export this as a CSV file, and also I can do map it, for example. So if I did have anything mapped over here, it's basically like Google. So if anything were to be over here, you would produce a map that would show you any of those locations. And then if we needed to refresh, we can refresh. So if you have certain reports that you run on a weekly, monthly basis or so forth, you can kind of go in, refresh it, see any new information that is available to you within this report. So we did have one other data set from here. So I will go in and create that one. So as you can see, we have our employee info here with options to edit, run, share, or copy. And let's just add a new one with employee salary data set. So there we go. We're going to choose employee salaries. So as you can see, we may have some columns that are different, such as hourly rate, hourly cost. So if we wanted to run that report, we can do so via, let's say, first name, last name, job title. And let's do hourly rate, if any information is in the system. So we'll double check and we'll see that on the report. Current salary. We can see, let's see, next review date, just for an example. So as you can see from over here, you can go and just change those columns around, change the names as we did, add any filters. So the filters from here may be a little bit different as well. As we can see, we have non-exempt, salary change date, salary next review date, salary amount, or no salary specified. So those are kind of more pertained towards the employee salaries data set. So if we did have any information, for example, we would go and choose these here, but I'm just going to say is system user, yes. And let's add another filter. Let's pertain that to the salaries. Salary amount equal to, let's see if there is any information in there for that. Let's submit that change. Okay. Default sort order, let's just say by job title. Okay. And then everything else is good to go. We're going to run this report. And so there's no information right now, but as you can see, if we did have that salary information in for our employees, we would be able to go and track that via the columns that we've chosen. So for example, we would have it here with the hourly rate, the next review date. And of course, if you do save this report, you can have it on your menu and you would be able to go and refresh this and be able to go and see any new data that has been implemented for your employees' salaries. So with that said, that basically kind of encapsulates what we can do with reporting for employee data set. You can use those to go and run your reporting at any time, and you can also share those reports with any other employees within the system, just as long as you do give them that shared link. So with that said, if we do have anyone that has any questions, we can kind of go into the system, and I could go in and let us know if we have any questions. So yep.
Oh.
Hello? So does anyone have any questions on any of that employee information? Alrighty, I guess if you do have any questions, you can reach anyone at the business team for further inquiries. And then for next week on Monday, we'll be having a part 2 session for employee management, followed by recruiting part 1 and part 2 for the next following Mondays. Thank you all for joining. Stay tuned for tomorrow's webinar, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.